The throne room smelled of wax and wet wool and old iron, the kind of old iron that never stopped bleeding into the air. It was a scent Cersei had come to love, the way a woman might love the sharpness of her own perfume. A warning and a promise in the same breath. Outside, King's Landing huddled under a winter sky that couldn't decide whether to rain or snow. The clouds had the sullen look of bruises. The wind slid between the towers and made the banners snap like whips. In the hall, none of it mattered. In the hall, the world was measured by whose footsteps carried sound. Cersei sat very still. The Iron Throne was a cruel seat, jagged, splintered, designed to punish a king for daring to rest. But pain was a teacher, and she had always been a quick student. She let the points bite through the velvet, into skin, into muscle, reminding her that softness was a trap. Softness was Sansa's tears. Softness was Tommen's trembling hands. Softness was a sept that had dared to fill with enemies and call it holiness. Below, the court waited for its next cue. Men in damp cloaks and polished boots. Women with jewels arranged like armor. Lannister guards at the foot of the dais, their faces as blank as shields. And behind them all, the murmuring that never quite stopped. The city's gossip, the realm's fear. The new religion's scattered embers still glowing under ash. She listened for the sound she wanted most. Footsteps. A pair of them. Measured and deliberate, as if the floor itself were a chessboard. Qyburn did not walk like a man who feared falling. When he appeared from a side passage, his chain of office glinting modestly at his throat, he bowed with a precision that suggested he had once been taught to bow to gods and found it efficient to bow to queens instead. "Your Grace," he said, gentle as a physician's touch. Cersei did not lean forward. She did not need to. She had learned in years of watching men that attention granted too easily was mistaken for permission. "They are coming," she said. It was not a question. It was a statement addressed to the air, to the stones, to whatever cold force had begun to press at the edges of the realm like a thumb against bruised fruit. Qyburn's eyes flicked to the courtiers, then back to her. "The Northern King and the Foreign Queen have arrived at the Dragon Pit." Cersei's mouth curved, not quite a smile. Foreign Queen. A girl with silver hair and dragons who believed the world had been waiting to fall into her hands the way ripe fruit fell from a branch. Cersei had been a girl once too. She remembered the foolishness of thinking fate was a lover rather than a butcher. "And proof?" Cersei asked. Qyburn's lips compressed. Yes. Promised, specimen. Specimen. He had a talent for making horrors sound like items on a ledger. "And you believe it will convince them?" Cersei asked, meaning everyone, meaning herself, meaning the very stones. "I believe, Your Grace. That sight does what words cannot." Qyburn folded his hands. Even for those determined not to be moved. Cersei looked down the long hall. In her mind, she could already see them. Tyrion's clever face, small and smug, wearing his righteousness like a cloak. Jaime's posture, too honest for this court, too stubborn to bend properly. Jon Snow, she'd heard the name enough that it had become a kind of irritation. A bastard with a crown, a wolf with a conscience. And Daenerys Targaryen, the last ember of a house Cersei had spent her life learning to hate. They would walk into her city and expect her fear. They would not be satisfied with anything less than her submission. Cersei placed her hand on the arm of the throne, fingers spread, claiming the cold iron the way a priest claimed an altar. "Let them come," she said. Down beneath the red keep, where the air cooled and thickened, and every breath tasted faintly of dust, Qyburn moved with the ease of a man who had never believed the world ended at sunlight. He had maps. Not the pretty kind drawn for lords, with painted forests and curling rivers. His maps were a tangle of lines and chambers and old stairs that had been cut into the rock before the city had known itself as a city. Maegor's tunnels, some called them, as if naming the dead made their handiwork less intimate. Qyburn had been in more tunnels than most men had been in beds. The dark did not offend him. A lantern swung in his hand, small and steady. The flame inside it was ordinary, yellow, obedient. It cast thin shadows that trembled across the walls like nervous hands. He stopped at an iron door that looked older than any king alive. The hinges had been oiled recently. Someone had been here. Qyburn set his palm against the metal. It was cool. He imagined for a moment the heat it had once hidden. Green fire trapped in clay and glass, waiting for a careless match, waiting for a mad command. He knocked, not because the door needed politeness, but because men behind doors were always less startled when they heard it coming. A bolt scraped, then another. A slit opened. Eyes peered out. "Master Qyburn," said a voice that smelled of old smoke even from a distance. The door opened inward. The air beyond was warmer and carried a sharper scent. Pine resin, sulfur, something sweetly chemical that clung to the back of the throat. It was the scent of wildfire, even when no wildfire burned. It was the scent of possibility. Inside, robed men waited in a chamber lined with shelves. Clay pots sat like fat little soldiers, each stamped with the three-pronged sigil of the Alchemists' Guild. There were fewer than there had been in Aerys's day, Qyburn suspected. The city had changed. The faith had risen and fallen. Kings had come and gone. But green fire remained, patient as a disease. An older pyromancer stepped forward, his beard a thin wisp, his eyes bright in a skull-like face. "We were told you wished to see us," he said, the words reverent and anxious at once. "I do," Qyburn replied. He let his gaze sweep the shelves, the jars, the coils of rope and cloth, the brass instruments and the little bowls of powdered minerals. "Her Grace has questions." The pyromancer's mouth twitched. "The Queen has questions," he echoed, as if savoring the shape of the sentence. "She has needs," Qyburn corrected softly. "And you will meet them." A younger man, barely more than a boy under his robe, swallowed hard. "We have produced wildfire before," he said. "For King Stannis' fleet. For the Blackwater." "No. Yes," Qyburn said, turning his lantern slightly so the light caught the boy's sweating brow. "And now you will produce it for the end of the world." That silenced them. Not because the words were dramatic. Pyromancers loved drama. But because Qyburn's tone suggested he had already measured the end of the world and found it inconvenient rather than mythical. The older man lifted his chin. "If the Queen commands." "She does." Qyburn stepped closer to the nearest shelf. His fingers hovered above a clay pot without touching it. "Tell me what you have. Tell me what you can make. And tell me what you can make different." "Nah." The pyromancer blinked. "Different?" Qyburn smiled faintly. "The enemy we prepare for does not fear cold, but our fires do." The older man's eyes narrowed, calculation replacing fear. "Wildfire burns on water," he said, half proud. "It burns even when you try to smother it. It burns hot enough to melt steel." "Does it burn in a blizzard?" Qyburn asked. Silence again. The boy shifted. The older man's gaze slid away. Qyburn let it linger. Silence, he had found, made men honest. Finally, the older pyromancer said, "Not reliably." Qyburn nodded once, as if confirming a number on a page. "Then make it reliable." The older man licked his lips. "The recipe is sacred." "So is the Queen," Qyburn replied, and his voice made it sound like a warning wrapped in velvet. "You will have access to the libraries of the Red Keep. You will have access to whatever old notes remain from Aerys's reign. You will have coin. You will have protection. You will have my attention." That last was more frightening than any threat of swords. The pyromancer bowed. "We will do what we can." Qyburn lifted his lantern. The yellow flame bobbed and threw shadows across the clay pots, making them look like skulls in a row. "Do more than you can," he said. "The Queen does not pay for what is possible. She pays for what is necessary." The dragon pit had been built for monsters, and time had reduced it to a broken shell that still remembered the weight of wings. Cersei arrived late on purpose. The stones were damp from the day's rain. The air tasted of ash and old soot, as if the place had never forgiven the dragons for dying here. Men stood in clusters, Northmen with wolf pelts and beards like iron bristles, unsullied in neat ranks with faces like carved wood, Dothraki restless as horses, Lannister guards stiff in crimson cloaks. The banners were a forest of claim and pride, each pole a small act of defiance. Cersei let them look at her. Her gown was black, heavy, threaded with dark gold. Her hair was gathered back in a severe crown of braids that left her face bare and sharp. She wore no visible jewels. She did not need them. The city was her jewel. The throne was her jewel. The fear in the eyes of men who had once prayed for her downfall, that was her jewel too. At her side, Gregor Clegane moved like a tower that had learned to walk. His armor was darker than night, his helmet a brutal mask. He made no sound beyond the low scrape of metal on stone, and yet every man in reach seemed to breathe more carefully when he passed. Jaime walked on Cersei's other side, and that was a choice she had made deliberately. Let them see her with her twin. Let them remember that the Lannisters came as a pair, like blades. Let them wonder which one would cut first. Down below, in the open circle of the pit, Daenerys waited. The girl queen's hair was pale as winter's sun, braided intricately, the way Dothraki women braided theirs after victory. She wore white fur, and it made her look like something carved from snow. But her eyes were not snow. Her eyes were the hard violet of bruises. Beside her stood Tyrion, smaller than the men around him, but somehow more present than most. His face was familiar even from a distance. The clever squint, the half-smile that dared the world to underestimate him again. And with them, Jon Snow, the bastard king. He looked like the North, Cersei thought. Dark, worn, stubborn. His cloak was fur. His boots were plain. His gaze met hers without flinching, and there was something in it that she hated immediately. Sincerity. Sincerity was a man's way of pretending he had no schemes. They all watched her descend. Cersei walked down the steps like a queen walking into a chapel built by enemies. She kept her chin high. She kept her pace unhurried. Every heartbeat was measured, every breath controlled. She could feel Jaime's tension beside her, the way his jaw set too tightly, the way his hand hovered near the hilt of his sword without touching it. At the base of the steps, they stopped. Daenerys' gaze flicked to Gregor, then to Cersei. "Queen Cersei," she said, voice calm. "Daenerys Stormborn," Cersei replied. She did not call her queen. Words mattered. Names were weapons. Tyrion stepped forward, hands spread in a gesture meant to look harmless. "Sister," he said softly, as if speaking gently would make her forget the years. Cersei's eyes swept over him. The scar on his face was still new, still a red line that pulled his mouth slightly. She wondered, briefly, how it had been made. Then she decided she didn't care. "We're wasting time," Cersei said. She looked past them, toward the cage that sat covered in cloth near the center of the pit. Even from here, she could feel a wrongness in the air around it. Something cold. Something that did not belong. Jon stepped closer. "We brought proof," he said. "And you expect proof to purchase my obedience," Cersei replied. Daenerys' mouth tightened. "We expect proof to purchase your sense." Cersei laughed, one sharp sound. "My sense has kept me alive in a world that devours the foolish. Let us see your proof." "No, nay, Alia." Tyrion nodded toward Sandor Clegane, who stood near the cage with a man's wary posture, as if expecting the world to bite. Sandor's eyes, though, were on Gregor, and in that gaze Cersei saw something raw and old and almost holy in its hatred. Sandor yanked the cloth away. The cage rattled. Inside, something moved. Cersei felt it before she saw it, a chill that slid under her skin as if the air had become water. The creature's hands, if they were hands, scraped at the iron bars. Its fingers were blackened bone wrapped in shriveled flesh. Its eyes were pale and empty, like frozen milk. It hissed. The sound was not animal. It was not human. It was the noise of hunger that had forgotten what it was to eat. For a moment, just a heartbeat, Cersei's mind offered her a memory. The sept exploding, green fire blooming, the screams. She pushed it away. This was different. That had been her will made flame. This was something else's will made corpse. The white threw itself against the iron bars again, and the cage shook. Men flinched. Unsullied Titan formation. Dothraki murmured. Even Daenerys' face changed, a flicker of something like disgust crossing it. Cersei did not step back. She would not give it that. "Is that all?" she asked, though her mouth felt strangely dry. Jon's voice was low. "That's one." Tyrion gestured, and Sandor lifted a torch. He brought it close to the cage. The white recoiled. It snapped its teeth at the flame, but it did not reach for it. It moved away from the torch as if the light itself were pain. Cersei's eyes narrowed. Fire. Gregor stood like a statue, unmoved. Jaime shifted, and she saw the faint tremor in his hand. "You want my armies to fight this," Cersei said, voice steady. "In the north, in ice. We need every man," Jon said. "If the dead take the north, they'll come south. They won't stop." Cersei looked at the white again, at the pale eyes, at the dead flesh. She imagined King's Landing filled with them. The streets choked. The Red Keep overrun. Tommen's bones dragged from their place and made to dance. A rage rose in her, hot and bitter. Not fear, never fear. Rage at the world for daring to bring another threat to her door and call it destiny. Daenerys watched her. "You've seen," she said. "Now decide." Cersei's lips pressed together. She had decided the moment the white recoiled from fire. Not the decision they wanted, but a decision all the same. The creature lunged again, jaws snapping, and the torchlight caught the wet shine of its teeth. It slammed into the bars with a strength that did not belong to flesh that dead. Cersei watched the iron flex. She watched the way the thing's shoulders moved, not like a man's, but like a puppet's. There was no hesitation in it, no calculation beyond the simple truth of hunger. Yet it had recoiled from fire, and that recoil was a crack in its invincibility. A crack could be widened. A crack could be broken open. "If you kill one," Cersei said, "do the others die?" Jon hesitated. "We think so." "We've seen it," Tyrion added quickly, eager to fill silence. "In the north, the walkers, their lieutenants. When one falls, the whites it commands collapse." Cersei turned her gaze to Tyrion. "Think, seen, believed." So many uncertain words for such certainty. Tyrion's mouth twitched. "It's better than nothing." Cersei almost smiled. Better than nothing. That had been Tyrion's defense for half his life. Jaime leaned closer, voice low. "Cersei," he said. "They're not lying." She did not look at him. She did not give him that softness. "Perhaps they're not," she said. "Perhaps they are." Daenerys' patience thinned visibly, like ice under warm breath. "You don't need to like us," she said. "You just need to understand this is real." Cersei's gaze returned to the white. It threw itself again at the bars. Its hands clawed. Its nails left scratches that smoked faintly in the torchlight as if the metal itself was offended by its touch. "Real," Cersei echoed. Sandor's torch flickered, and for an instant the flame bent strangely, as if pushed by an unseen breath. The white hissed and recoiled again, and Cersei felt a satisfaction so sharp it was almost pleasure. "Fire frightens it," she observed aloud. "Yes," Jon said. "And dragonglass kills it," Daenerys added. "And Valyrian steel." "Dragonglass," Cersei said, letting the word roll like a pebble on her tongue. "Obsidian. A rare stone mined in one place, carried by one queen." Daenerys' eyes flashed. "It's not mine. It's for the living." Cersei's laugh was soft. "How generous." Tyrion stepped forward again, hands still spread, voice careful. "Sister, this isn't about thrones." Cersei looked at him then, truly looked. His eyes held a pleading that made something in her coil tight. Tyrion had always believed he could talk his way through any door. It was his most infuriating faith. "Everything is about thrones," Cersei said. Jon's jaw clenched. "People will die while you argue." Cersei tilted her head. "People die while you breathe. That is the way of the world." Daenerys took a step forward, and for a heartbeat Cersei wondered if the girl would do something foolish, like order her soldiers to seize her here among the stones. But Daenerys only stared, as if trying to read a language she did not understand. "You can fight with us," Daenerys said, "or you can die alone. Those are your choices." Cersei's gaze did not waver. "My choices," she said softly, "are always more numerous than men imagine." She turned, cloak sweeping, and began to climb the steps back toward the exit. Behind her, voices rose. Tyrion calling her name. Jaime's sharp intake of breath. Daenerys' anger. The White shrieked and slammed against the bars again, as if offended by her departure. Cersei did not look back. She had seen enough. As she reached the top, she paused. The wind off the bay carried cold into the pit. It brushed her face like the touch of an unwashed hand. She turned just enough that her voice would carry. "If this threat is as you say," she called down, "then you will need every weapon you can find." Tyrion's face lifted, hopeful. Cersei's mouth curved into something that was not a smile. "Pray you do not force me to become one." Then she walked out into the winter air, leaving them staring after her like men watching a door close on their only light. Tyrion caught up with her in the corridor before she reached her chambers. "Sister," he called, breathless, a little ridiculous in his haste. "Please." Cersei did not stop. Her footsteps echoed. Her guards parted like a curtain around her and closed behind her like a trap. Tyrion persisted because of course he did. He moved faster, his smaller legs working to keep pace. "Cersei," he said again, and this time his voice was softer, as if remembering that they had once been children together and believing that memory could act like rope. She stopped at last, not because she wished to listen, but because she wished to control where the listening happened. A pair of guards opened the door to a private antechamber, and she stepped inside. It was warm, lined with tapestries that smelled faintly of old smoke. A brazier burned in the corner, orange and tame. She took a seat, not the throne, not here, but a chair carved with lions. Tyrion entered and the guards shut the door behind him, leaving him alone with her and the mountain's silent shadow. Tyrion swallowed. He tried not to look at Gregor and failed. His eyes came back to Cersei, to her calm face, to the way she sat as if the room belonged to her simply because she existed in it. "You saw it," Tyrion said. "I did," Cersei replied. "It's real?" Cersei shrugged one shoulder. "Real enough." Tyrion leaned forward, hands clasped, his voice urgent. "Then help us." Cersei watched him, and in the flickering light of the brazier she saw the boy he had been. The clever child who had read books while Jaime swung swords, who had wanted so badly to be useful in a family that had never forgiven him for being born. "You want my army," she said. "You want my soldiers to march north and freeze, and die, so that you may claim you saved the realm." Tyrion's expression tightened. "It's not about claiming anything." "No?" Cersei said. "It never is. With you, it's always about what's right, what's moral, what's good. You've always had such a talent for painting your desires as virtues." Tyrion flinched, but he did not retreat. "If the dead win," he said, voice low, "there won't be a throne to sit on. Not for you, not for Daenerys, not for anyone." Cersei leaned back. She let her fingers rest on the arm of her chair, nails tapping once, twice, a soft rhythm. "You think I don't understand that?" she asked. Tyrion hesitated. I don't know what you understand anymore." Cersei's gaze hardened. "I understand this. You brought an abomination into my city. You brought a foreign queen with dragons and armies to my doorstep. You expect me to open my gates and smile while you carve up my realm like a feast?" Tyrion shook his head. "That's not what it is," Cersei cut in. "And yet," she let the word hang, a small hook. Tyrion's eyes flicked up, hopeful again. Cersei watched that hope with a kind of detached fascination. Hope made men weak. It made them stupid. It made them walk willingly into knives. "And yet," she repeated, "you are right about one thing." Tyrion leaned in. "Yes?" Cersei's voice lowered, almost intimate. "If the dead come, they will not stop at Winterfell. They will not stop at the Trident. They will come for this city." Tyrion's face softened. Then I will do what I must," Cersei said. He exhaled, relief breaking through him. "Thank you." Cersei's eyes did not change. "Do not thank me yet," she said softly. "You may not like what I must do." Tyrion's brow furrowed. "We can plan together. We can—" Cersei rose, ending it. "Leave me," she said. Tyrion stood too, startled. "Cersei." Gregor shifted, just a fraction. The armor made a sound like a grave closing. Tyrion's gaze flicked to him and he went pale. Cersei stepped closer, until Tyrion could smell the faint rose oil in her hair. She leaned in, her voice a whisper meant for only him. "You came to my city with fire and death," she said. "Remember who taught you what fire can do." Then she straightened, turned away, and strode toward the door. Tyrion stood frozen for a heartbeat, then hurried after her, calling, "Cersei, wait!" But she was already gone, and the guards were already in motion, and the sound of the door shutting behind him felt final as a tomb. Jaime found her later, in the rooms that had once belonged to kings who believed they were gods. The fire in the hearth was low. Shadows moved over the walls like slow dancers. Cersei stood at the window, looking out over the city, her hands resting on the sill as if she could hold King's Landing steady by touch alone. Jaime entered without ceremony. He was her twin. Ceremony had always been for other people. "You're going to send the army north," he said, not asking. Cersei did not turn. "Am I?" Jaime's voice tightened. "Tyrion said you agreed." Cersei's laugh was quiet. Tyrion hears what he wants to hear. Jaime stepped closer. "Cersei," he said, warning in the name. She turned then, slowly, and the firelight caught her face, sharpening it, making her look carved from stone. "They want me to kneel," she said. "They want me to hand over the realm to a foreign girl, because she has dragons and a pretty story." "This isn't about her," Jaime snapped. "This is the dead," Cersei finished, too smoothly. "Yes, the dead. A convenient threat. A threat that makes men forget politics and crown and coin." Jaime's eyes flared. "It's not convenient. It's real." "No." Cersei's gaze held his, unblinking. "I saw the creature," she said. "I saw it fear fire." Jaime's breath caught. "Then you understand." "I understand many things," Cersei said. "I understand that if I march my army north, I leave this city unguarded. I understand that if I lend my strength to Daenerys, she will use it to crush me once the dead are gone." Jaime took a step forward. "If we don't fight them, there won't be a city to guard." Cersei's mouth tightened. For a moment, something flickered behind her eyes. An image perhaps of the White's pale face, of teeth snapping. Then it was gone, buried under iron. "I will not, Marth," she said. Jaime stared at her. "You can't," he whispered, as if the words themselves hurt. Cersei tilted her head. "Can't? I am the queen." Jaime's jaw worked. "You're condemning everyone." Cersei's voice was calm. "No, I'm choosing the only path that leaves me alive." Jaime's hand clenched, the golden fingers stiff. "Alive," he echoed. "And what, exactly, will you rule when everything is dead?" Cersei stepped closer, close enough that Jaime could see the fine lines at the corners of her eyes. the places where grief and rage had carved their own throne into her face. "I will rule whoever remains," she said softly. Jaime's expression twisted. "That's monstrous." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "Monstrous," she repeated, tasting the word. "You say it like it's new." Jaime's shoulders slumped for a heartbeat, a man worn thin by love and disgust in equal measure. "I swore an oath," he said, voice hoarse, "to protect the realm." Cersei's gaze was sharp. "Your oaths have always been flexible." "This isn't like that," Jaime said. This is the end." Cersei watched him, and something in her shifted. Not softness, not mercy, but calculation. Jaime was not like the other men she used. He had a will of his own. He had a conscience. The foolish thing. And a conscience could be more dangerous than a sword. She reached out and touched his cheek, light as a feather. Jaime went still, as if the touch had turned him to stone. "I love you," she said. Jaime's eyes closed for a moment, pain flickering across his face. "Don't," he murmured. "Don't do that." Cersei's thumb brushed his skin. "I love you," she repeated. And it was true, in the way she loved anything. Possessive, fierce, absolute. "And I will not throw you away in the snow." Jaime's eyes opened. "Then fight with me," he begged. And there it was. Jaime, the boy who had once looked at her like she was the only warmth in the world. Cersei withdrew her hand. "I am fighting," she said. Jaime's brow furrowed. "How?" Cersei turned back to the window. "Not the way they expect," she said quietly. "Not the way you want." Jaime stared at her back, searching for something. An answer, a crack, a place to wedge his hope. He found none. Later, when Jaime had left and the door had shut with a sound like a verdict, Cersei sent for Qyburn. He came quickly as he always did, silent and steady, like a thought that refused to be ignored. Cersei did not sit. She paced. The room felt too small, too full of ghosts. "Tell me what you know," she said, voice clipped. Qyburn bowed. "About the creature? About the enemy," Cersei corrected. Qyburn's eyes were calm. "Very little that is certain," he admitted. "They are animated corpses. They respond to some command. They do not feel pain. They do not tire. They do not negotiate." "No." "And fire hurts them," Cersei said. "Yes," Qyburn replied. "Fire appears effective. Dragonglass." Cersei's mouth tightened. "Dragonglass is a stone in the ground. Valyrian steel is a story in a sword." "And wildfire," Qyburn said gently. Cersei stopped pacing. She looked at him. Qyburn did not blink. "It burns hotter than common flame," he continued. "It clings, it spreads, it consumes. And it can be made," Cersei said. "It can," Qyburn replied. "How much do we have?" she asked. Qyburn hesitated, as if measuring his answer. "More than most believe," he said at last. "Eris stored caches beneath the city. Many were never found." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "How do you know?" Qyburn's lips quirked faintly. "Because your grace was not the first to ask me to look," he said. "The city keeps secrets. Secrets leave. Traces." Cersei felt a cold satisfaction. "Bring me maps," she said. "Bring me numbers." "I will," Qyburn said. "And the Alchemists' Guild," Cersei added. "Wake them fully. Put them to work." Qyburn bowed. "As you command." Cersei turned back to the hearth, watching the ordinary flames lick the logs. "I want more than what they made for Stannis," she said. "I want wildfire that will burn in the cold. I want wildfire that can be carried. I want wildfire that will not die when the wind screams." Qyburn's eyes glittered with interest. Not fear, not awe, but the curiosity of a man presented with a puzzle. "That will require experimentation," he said. "Then, experiment," Cersei replied, voice sharp. "Use whatever you need. Books, ingredients, men. Qyburn's head tilted. Men. Cersei's gaze met his. If a few beggars vanish, the city will not mourn, she said. Qyburn did not flinch. Understood, he murmured. Cersei looked away, toward the window where the city sprawled in winter haze. Somewhere out there, the Sept had once stood. Somewhere out there, the people still whispered her name like a curse. Let them whisper. She would give them something else to whisper about soon enough. When they come, she said quietly, I will not meet them at my gates. Qyburn waited. Cersei's eyes were hard. I will meet them on ground I choose, she said, and I will turn them into ash. Next days moved like pieces sliding into place, each one clicking with a sound only Cersei could hear. In the depths of the city, the pyromancers worked. Qyburn watched them as a wolf watched sheep, not with hunger but with clinical attention. He asked questions. He made notes. He ordered changes. The pyromancers protested at first, muttering about sacred formulas and ancient rites. But the weight of the queen's demand pressed on them like a hand on a throat. They began to mix new powders into the resin. They tested different oils. They heated it longer. They cooled it suddenly. They opened old scrolls that smelled of mold and madness, notes from Aerys' reign written in a spidery hand. The letters danced. The words whispered. Qyburn read them without blinking. The first attempt failed. The wildfire sputtered in the cold chamber when they brought in blocks of ice. It flared, angry, then died, leaving only smoke and disappointment. The second attempt burned, but not hot enough. The third burned too hot, cracking the clay pots and spilling green fire onto stone, forcing men to scramble, shrieking, to smother it with sand. Qyburn watched, unperturbed. He had seen worse failures in other rooms. Again, he said. Above, in the Red Keep, Cersei held court. She listened to merchants complain about frozen roads and rising prices. She listened to lords whisper about dragons. She listened to Septons who had survived her fire preach caution and obedience. She smiled when it benefited her. She frowned when it frightened them. She promised coin. She threatened prison. She acted the queen they expected, proud, cruel, absolute. But at night, when the castle quieted and the wind moaned through the towers, she met with Qyburn in rooms where no servants dared linger. He brought her maps, tunnels under the city, lines marking hidden caches, symbols indicating where Aerys had stored his madness. He brought her numbers, how many pots they had, how many they could make, how many barrels could be transported without breaking, without leaking, without turning the wagons into rolling funeral pyres. He brought her possibilities. We can fill carts, he told her one night, voice low. Reinforce them, line them with sand, build mechanisms to release the contents. And if a cart breaks? Cersei asked. Qyburn's mouth twitched. Then whoever stands near it becomes ash, he said simply. Cersei nodded. Acceptable. Qyburn hesitated. There is one complication. Cersei's eyes sharpened. Speak. The queen across the water, Qyburn said, careful. She has dragons. She believes herself the only fire in the world. Cersei's lips curved faintly. Let her believe, she said. Qyburn inclined his head. Wildfire is a kind of rival, he said. Cersei's gaze grew distant. Dragons burn what they see, she murmured. Wildfire burns what I choose. She looked at him, and in her eyes there was something that made even Qyburn's calm falter for the briefest moment. Do you know why Aerys loved it? She asked quietly. Qyburn's voice was almost respectful. Because it made him feel powerful, he said. Cersei's smile was cold. No, she said. Because it made everyone else feel small. Euron Greyjoy arrived like a storm that had learned to laugh. His ships cut into Blackwater Bay with the confidence of men who had never feared drowning. His sailors shouted as they docked, voices rough with salt. His banners snapped, black krakens on gold, bold as blasphemy. Cersei met him on the docks with a small retinue, enough to show power but not enough to appear desperate. Gregor loomed behind her. Qyburn stood at her side, hands folded, expression mild. Euron descended the gangplank like a man stepping onto his own stage. He was dressed in leather and fur, his hair dark and wind-tangled, his smile too wide to be trusted. He bowed, but it was the kind of bow that mocked the act. "My queen," he said, and there was amusement in it, as if kings and queens were toys to him. Cersei's gaze flicked over him. He smelled of sea and sweat and something sharper, blood perhaps, or the promise of it. "Lord Greyjoy," she said. "King," Euron corrected, grin widening. Cersei's mouth did not change. "In your islands," she said, "you may call yourself what you like." Euron laughed, delighted rather than offended. "I missed you," he said. Cersei stepped closer, her voice low enough that only he could hear. "You missed power," she said. Euron's eyes glittered. "Isn't that what you are?" he replied. Cersei held his gaze. "I hear you went to meet the Dragon Queen," she said. Euron's grin faltered only slightly. "Hey," he said. "Silver hair, pretty face. Thought she'd be easy." "And?" Cersei asked. Euron's eyes narrowed. "She wanted me to kneel," he said. The words spat like poison. Cersei's smile was faint. "Of course she did." Euron leaned closer, lowering his voice. "I told her I don't kneel," he said. "Not to queens, not to gods, not to anyone." Cersei watched him. A man who never knelt could still be made to bow, if you cut the right tendons. "And did she threaten you?" Cersei asked. Euron laughed. "She showed me her pets," he said, gesturing vaguely toward the sky as if dragons might swoop down on cue. "Big lizards, fire and teeth. I told her I had ships. I told her I had men. I told her I had a gift for you." Cersei's gaze sharpened. "What gift?" Euron's grin returned, sharp as a blade. "A promise," he said, "that I'll bring you what you want." "And what do you think I want?" Cersei asked. Euron's eyes slid over her, bold. "Power," he said. "Safety. Victory. A child, perhaps." Cersei's hand did not move to her belly. She did not give him that satisfaction. "You think you can bring me safety?" she asked softly. Euron shrugged. "I can bring you the means," he said. "And in return..." Cersei's gaze turned cold. "In return, you want to rut like a dog in a lord's hall," she said. Euron's laugh boomed, unoffended. "You're blunt," he said approvingly. "I like that." Cersei stepped closer still. "Bring me proof of your loyalty," she said. "Bring me something real." Euron's grin sharpened. "A dragon," he said. "A head, a horn, a woman's chains." Cersei's eyes did not change. "Bring me what you promised," she said. "And you may have what you earn." Euron bowed again, deeper this time. "As you command," he said. As he turned to leave, his men hauling crates behind him, Cersei watched the ships bob on the gray water. She imagined them sailing north. She imagined them burning. She imagined Euron laughing as he drowned. Some men were useful only as kindling. The small council chamber was not small because of its size, but because it was built to contain men who believed they mattered. Cersei sat at the head of the table, fingers steepled, listening to voices trip over each other in their hurry to be heard. "The roads north are freezing," one lord complained. "Trade is slowing. The granaries." "The faith," another began, cautious. "There are whispers. The Iron Bank expects its payments," came a third, thin with nervousness. "They will not." Cersei raised a hand and the room quieted. Silence fell like a drawn curtain. "I did not call you here to listen to you whine," she said. The men swallowed. Eyes dropped. She leaned forward. "The realm is threatened," she said, and watched their faces shift. Some skeptical, some afraid, some pretending not to believe in order to feel strong. A rumor from the north, one man ventured. Cersei's gaze snapped to him. A reality from the north, she corrected. Qyburn sat to her right, calm, his hands folded. He said nothing unless she looked at him, and then he offered facts like knives. We have received reports, Cersei continued, that the wall has fallen. That made them flinch. Even men who had never seen the wall understood its myth. Myth was a kind of armor. If the armor cracked, men felt naked. And you have received reports, she went on, that the dead are marching. A cough. A shift. The smell of fear rising in the room like sweat. One lord cleared his throat. Your Grace, he said carefully. If this is true, should we not join with the Dragon Queen? Cersei's eyes narrowed. Join, she echoed. You mean kneel? The lord swallowed. Cersei leaned back, her voice smooth. We will not kneel, she said, but we will prepare. How? Someone whispered. Cersei's gaze slid to Qyburn. He lifted his head, and his calm voice filled the room like a physician pronouncing a diagnosis. Fire, he said simply. The men blinked. One laughed weakly. Dragons? He asked. Cersei's mouth curved. Not dragons, she said. Something older. The men shifted, uneasy. They all knew the stories. The Mad King. The jars. The green flame. The way the sept had burned and taken so many with it. Cersei let them taste that memory. She let them remember what she was capable of. You will do as you are told, she said softly. You will find me men who can build wagons. You will find me smiths. You will find me scouts who can ride north and return alive. And the people. One man dared ask, should we evacuate? Cersei cut him off with a look. The people will do what they always do, she said. They will pray. They will panic. They will run. We will not waste strength moving cattle before the slaughter. The man paled. Cersei rose, ending the council. Prepare, she said. When the storm comes, I will not be caught without lightning. As they filed out, murmuring, Cersei watched them with a predator's patience. Let them fear her. Fear made men useful. When the door shut and only Qyburn remained, Cersei exhaled slowly. They think I'm mad, she said. Qyburn's lips quirked faintly. They thought Aerys was mad, he replied, until he proved it. Cersei's smile was thin. I will prove something else, she said. That night, Cersei followed Qyburn down into the bones of her city. The stairwell was narrow, carved into stone that sweated cold. The air grew damp. The sounds of the castle faded, replaced by the distant drip of water and the faint scuttle of unseen things. Cersei held her skirts up slightly to keep them from dragging. She did not like the way the stone pressed close. She did not like the way the darkness seemed to breathe. But she went. She had learned long ago that fear was a thing to walk through, not a thing to walk around. Qyburn's lantern cast a small circle of light. It painted the walls in gold and shadow. The steps spiraled down, deeper, deeper, until Cersei could no longer tell which direction the sea lay in. Finally, the stairwell opened into a corridor. The ceiling was low. The walls were rough. The air smelled of dust and old smoke. It tasted faintly of something sharp, sulfur, resin, the memory of fire. Qyburn paused at a door set into the stone. There was no handle, only a ring of iron. He pulled, and the door groaned open. Beyond, a chamber. Clay pots lined the walls, stacked in careful rows. Some were cracked, old. Some looked newer, their seals intact. The three-pronged sigil of the Alchemists' Guild marked many of them. Others were unmarked, hidden, as if Aerys had feared even his own pyromancers. Cersei stepped inside, and for a moment she felt as if she had walked into a tomb. How many? She asked. Qyburn's voice was quiet, almost reverent. More than I expected, he said. Dozens, perhaps hundreds. Cersei's gaze swept the pots. Each one was a promise. Each one was a threat. Aerys wanted to burn the city, she murmured. Yes, Qyburn said. And he never did, Cersei said softly. Qyburn's eyes flicked to her. No, he agreed. Cersei walked between the rows, her hand hovering near the clay without touching. She imagined the green fire pouring out, spreading through the tunnels, racing up into the streets. She imagined the screams. She imagined the dead, those pale-eyed creatures, wading into it, their flesh igniting, their bones cracking. Her mouth tightened. This is power, she said. Qyburn watched her. It is, he replied. Cersei stopped at a pot that was larger than the others, its seal thick and waxy. She traced the sigil with her eyes. If one breaks, she asked, what happens? Qyburn's voice was calm. Then this chamber becomes an oven, he said. And we become ash. Cersei nodded, satisfied. Good, she said. Qyburn's brows lifted slightly. Good. Cersei turned to him. Her eyes were bright, and in them there was a fierce clarity that was almost beautiful. If the dead come, she said, I will not die in my bed. I will not die begging. I will die with fire. Qyburn bowed his head. As you wish, he murmured. Cersei walked back toward the door, leaving the pots behind her like sleeping dragons. As they climbed the stairs again, the lantern light trembling, she felt the castle's warmth return slowly, like blood returning to a limb. Above, the wind howled. Below, green fire waited. On the balcony above the city, Cersei watched the first snow fall. It came in thin, hesitant flakes, as if the sky itself was uncertain. They drifted down onto the roofs, onto the streets, onto the dark water of the bay. The city's lights flickered beneath, warm pockets of gold in the cold. Cersei leaned on the stone railing. The wind tugged at her cloak. It brushed her face with icy fingers. In the yard below, soldiers moved like shadows, their breath steaming. Somewhere in the castle, a baby cried. Somewhere in the city, a woman laughed too loudly to hide her fear. Somewhere far to the north, a wall that had stood for thousands of years had fallen like a kicked sandcastle. She thought of the White's eyes, pale, empty. She thought of the way it had recoiled from fire. She thought of Tommen, of the way his face had looked when he stepped out into air and did not come back. She thought of Myrcella, her lips blue, her body limp in her arms. She thought of Joffrey, choking, his eyes bulging, his fingers clawing at his throat. Her children were gone. Her enemies had taken them, one by one, whether by poison or prophecy or the indifferent cruelty of fate. And now fate had come again, wearing frost. Cersei's fingers tightened on the stone railing until her knuckles went white. Not this time, she whispered to the wind. She did not know if she meant the dead, or Daenerys, or the gods, or the world itself. Perhaps she meant all of them. Behind her, a door opened softly. Footsteps approached. Jaime's footsteps. She did not turn. She did not want to see his face. Not yet. Not when her resolve was sharpest. You're sending the gold to the Iron Bank, Jaime said quietly, behind her. Cersei's mouth tightened. Yes, and you're building wagons, he added. Cersei's gaze stayed on the city. Yes. Jaime's voice was strained. You're doing something, he said, almost accusingly, as if action itself was a betrayal. Cersei finally turned. Jaime stood in the doorway, his cloak dusted with snow, his face drawn. He looked older than his years. War did that. Love did that too. You want me to march north, she said, calm. Jaime's jaw clenched. I want you to do the right thing. Cersei's smile was small and sharp. The right thing? She echoed. You still believe in it? Jaime stepped forward. Cersei, he said, and in his voice there was something like desperation. If you have a plan, tell me. Cersei looked at him. And for a moment she saw the boy he had been. The one who had sworn to protect her when they were children, when the world still felt simple. Then she saw the man he was, the one who had left her once, who had returned, who might leave again. She could not afford him leaving now. "My plan," she said softly, "is to survive." Jaime's eyes flashed. "That's not enough." Cersei stepped closer, snow melting on her cloak. "It is for me," she said. "It is for this city." Jaime's voice broke slightly. "At what cost?" Cersei's gaze hardened. "Whatever it takes," she said. Jaime stared at her, and she could see the war inside him. Oath versus love, honor versus fear. Cersei held his gaze unblinking. She had chosen her side long ago. If Jaime could not follow, he would be left behind. In the yards beyond the castle, the work began in earnest. Wagons were dragged in, heavy and stout, their wood thick. Smiths hammered iron hoops onto them, reinforcing the frames. Nails rang like bells. Sparks flew. Men cursed. Their breath steamed in the cold air. Qyburn moved among them like a quiet conductor. He carried scrolls and sketches, designs for valves, for release mechanisms, for clamps that would hold clay pots steady even over rough roads. He spoke to the smiths in a tone that made them listen despite themselves. He promised coin. He promised protection. He promised consequences. The barrels arrived at night, covered in tarps, moved by men who did not ask questions. They were marked with no words, only symbols, the three-pronged sigil, faint and ominous. A guard once asked too loudly what was inside. Qyburn looked at him with mild curiosity. "Something that ends questions," he said. The guard shut his mouth. Cersei watched the preparations from a balcony, unseen behind a curtain. She liked the sight of men building weapons. It was honest work, in its way. Men could be trusted to make things that destroyed. It was making things that healed that always went wrong. When the first wagon was completed, Qyburn brought her to see it. It looked ordinary at first, just wood and iron. But inside, hidden beneath a false floor, there were compartments lined with sand and leather. Clay pots could be slid in and locked tight. A lever could be pulled to release them, to smash them, to spill their contents. Cersei ran her gloved hand along the iron rim. "How many?" she asked. 20 pots per wagon," Qyburn replied. "More if we risk instability." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "We will risk what we must," she said. Qyburn hesitated. "There is one more matter," he said. Cersei looked at him. "Speak." "Transport," he said. "If the roads are frozen, if the enemy moves quickly." Cersei's mouth curved faintly. "Then we don't wait," she said. "We move before the storm breaks." Qyburn bowed. "As you command," he said. Cersei stepped back and looked at the wagon again, imagining it rolling north, hidden among supply carts, a harmless thing until it wasn't. A weapon disguised as a necessity. That, she thought, was a perfect kind of power. In the library, the air smelled of old leather and old lies. The Red Keep shelves held histories written by men who had never touched a sword, poems written by men who had never touched a woman, ledgers written by men who believed numbers could control the world. There were scrolls older than the city itself, some taken from Dragonstone in the days when Targaryen still sat the Iron Throne and believed they owned fire. Qyburn laid one such scroll carefully on a table. The parchment was brittle. The ink was dark and sharp, the letters unfamiliar, Valyrian, or something close enough to it to make a maester sweat. Cersei sat across from him, watching. "What is that?" she asked. "A fragment," Qyburn replied, his fingers delicate as he traced the symbols without touching. It was hidden behind a false panel, likely overlooked, likely considered useless. "And you don't," Cersei said. Qyburn's mouth twitched faintly. "Useless is a judgment," he said. "Judgments are often wrong." He began to translate aloud, not for her benefit, but because speaking made the thoughts settle into place. "It mentions oils," he said. "Resins that resist separation. A binding agent. It references cold as an adversary." Cersei leaned forward slightly. "It references cold?" she asked, interest sharpening. Qyburn nodded. "In metaphor," he said. "But metaphor is often used to hide truth." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "Can it help?" she asked. "It might," Qyburn replied. "If the pyromancers are willing to accept guidance from elsewhere." Cersei's smile was thin. "They will accept guidance from whoever keeps their heads on their shoulders," she said. Qyburn looked up at her. "The risks increase," he said quietly. "Changing the formula could make the wildfire unstable." Cersei's gaze did not move. "Unstable is fine," she said. "Uncontrolled is not." Qyburn inclined his head. "Then we will control it," he said. Cersei watched him bend back over the scroll, his eyes intent. She thought of the old kings who had sat in this castle and believed themselves masters of fate. Aegon with his dragons, Maegor with his tunnels, Aerys with his jars. They had all reached for fire. Only one had understood how to use it properly. Cersei did not believe the gods had chosen her. She believed she had chosen herself. Cersei spread the map of Westeros across the table like a skin. It was a beautiful thing. The way all instruments of power were beautiful. Inked coastlines, painted forests, mountains rendered in careful ridges. It made the world look neat. It made the world look controllable. Cersei placed a small lion figurine at King's Landing. Qyburn placed another at Harrenhal, his finger hovering over the black smudge of the god's eye. "If the dead come south," he said, "they will likely follow the King's Road. It is the fastest route for numbers." Cersei's gaze traced the line north. "And the neck," she said, tapping the swampy stretch that narrowed the realm like a noose. "A choke point." Qyburn nodded. "Moat Cailin," he said. "If held, it can slow an army." "Can it be held against the dead?" Cersei asked. Qyburn's mouth tightened slightly. "That depends," he said carefully, "on whether the dead obey the same rules as the living." Cersei's eyes narrowed. "Rules are for men," she said, "not for monsters." She moved another lion figure into the neck, then to the trident, then to the riverlands. She imagined the dead pressing south, unstoppable, like a tide made of bones. "How far can Wildfire be carried?" she asked. Qyburn considered. "If we take it by wagon," he said, "we can move it up the King's Road. If we take it by river, rivers freeze," Cersei cut in. "Yes," Qyburn agreed, "but not all at once, not everywhere." Cersei's gaze fixed on the trident. "We will need scouts," she said. "Men who can watch and return with truth." Qyburn nodded. "I have candidates," he said. Cersei's mouth curved faintly. Candidates. Another word that made cruelty sound like administration. She moved a third lion figurine toward the Westerlands. "We will not empty the city," she said. "We will not weaken our walls." Qyburn looked at her. "And the north?" he asked. Cersei's gaze was cold. "The north chose its own king," she said. "Let it die for him." Qyburn's eyes did not change. "As you command," he said. Cersei leaned over the map, her hair falling forward slightly, her eyes fixed on the narrow strip of land where the realm could be cut and held. She did not need to save Westeros. She needed to save her throne. And if saving her throne required saving Westeros, then so be it. In the rookery, ravens beat their wings against cages, impatient for the sky. The maester who tended them was young, his chain bright, his hands trembling slightly as he held out parchment. He tried not to look directly at Cersei, as if her gaze might burn. Cersei pressed her seal into warm wax, lion and crown, sharp and undeniable. She did it slowly, making the act ceremonial. A seal was a kind of promise. She handed the letter back to the maester. "This goes to Lord Tarley," she said. The maester swallowed. Lord Tarly is dead, Cersei finished, eyes cold. Then it goes to whoever wears his name now, whoever claims his lands. The maester nodded quickly. Cersei sealed another letter. This goes to Harrenhal, she said. To any captain with a spine. Another seal. Another letter. Another piece moving. None of the letters spoke openly of Wildfire. None of them spoke openly of the dead. They spoke of supplies, of roads, of escorts, of winter preparations. They spoke of mundane things. Mundane things were how great plans hid. When she finished, she watched the maester tie the letters to raven legs, his fingers clumsy. The birds squawked, angry. Send them, Cersei said. The maester opened the cages one by one. Ravens burst out, black shapes against the gray sky, disappearing into the falling snow. Cersei watched them go. Messages were like arrows. Once loosed, they could not be called back. They could only be aimed. Behind her, Qyburn stood quietly, as always. They will not understand, he murmured. Cersei's mouth tightened. They don't need to understand, she said. They need to obey. She turned from the window. How long until we have enough? She asked. Qyburn's eyes were thoughtful. Enough is relative, he said carefully. But within a fortnight, we will have more than we have ever had. And the new formula? Cersei asked. Qyburn's gaze sharpened slightly. We are close, he said. Very close. Cersei nodded once. Then hurry, she said. Outside, the ravens vanished into the storm. Inside, Cersei began to feel the future's shape pressing against her like a hand. When the breakthrough came, it did not arrive with thunder. It arrived with a bowl. The pyromancers had set a small earthen bowl atop blocks of ice hauled in from the river. The chamber was cold enough that breath came out in white puffs. The men shivered inside their robes. Qyburn stood close, his face calm though his eyes were keen. He had insisted on witnessing every test. He trusted no man's report when he could see the truth himself. A pyromancer dipped a thin stick into the green liquid and drew it out, the substance clinging, slow and luminous. He held it above the bowl, then touched the stick to a spark. Green flame bloomed. It was beautiful, in a way ordinary fire could never be. It did not flicker like a nervous candle. It roared quietly, hungry, as if alive. It clung to the air, to the stick, to the bowl, spilling over the edge in small tendrils. The ice beneath it hissed. The pyromancers held their breath. They had seen Wildfire die in cold before. They had watched it sputter like a drunk in the wind. They had watched it fail. But this flame did not falter. It burned. It burned steady. It burned hot enough that the ice cracked, spider-webbing outward, even as frost formed on the far edges of the blocks. One pyromancer let out a shaky laugh. Another whispered a prayer, half in fear, half in reverence. Qyburn leaned closer, his eyes reflecting green light. How long? He asked softly. The oldest pyromancer swallowed. It should last, he said, voice trembling. As long as any wildfire. As long as any wildfire, Qyburn echoed, and in his tone there was satisfaction, quiet and terrible. He straightened. Prepare a sample, he said. For the Queen. The pyromancers exchanged glances. One hesitated. To bring it? Carefully, Qyburn said. That night, Cersei stood in a small stone chamber beneath the Red Keep, watching as Qyburn placed the bowl on a table. Green flame lit her face from below, painting her features in sharp angles. It made her eyes look almost emerald. It burns, she said. It burns in cold, Qyburn corrected. Cersei's mouth curved. Good, she murmured. Qyburn watched her. It is volatile, he said. Cersei leaned closer, letting the heat brush her cheeks. So am I, she said softly. The green fire crackled as if laughing with her. Jaime began to notice things. Small things at first. Wagons moving through the yard at odd hours. Barrels covered in tarps. Men in green robes slipping through corridors they did not normally walk. He asked questions, and the answers were always just enough to make him uneasy, and never enough to make him satisfied. Supplies, a guard would say. Winter stores, a steward would claim. Precautions, Qyburn would murmur, smiling softly. One night, Jaime stood outside Cersei's chambers and heard a sound he had not heard since Blackwater Bay. The faint crackle of wildfire. It was muffled, distant, but unmistakable. Like a snake's hiss. His stomach tightened. He pushed the door open without waiting for permission. Cersei stood inside, alone, looking at a small flame contained in a glass vial. It burned green and steady, casting strange shadows on the walls. Jaime froze. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Cersei turned, not startled, as if she had expected him. "Preparing," she said simply. Jaime's gaze flicked to the vial, to the green light. "That's wildfire," he said. "Yes," Cersei replied. Jaime's voice rose. "In the castle," he said. "Are you mad?" Cersei's eyes narrowed. "Careful," she warned. Jaime stepped closer, his anger sharp. "You're playing with the same fire that drove Aerys insane," he said. Cersei's mouth tightened. "Aerys wanted to burn the city to spite it," she said. "I want to burn our enemies." "Enemies?" Jaime echoed. "You mean the dead?" "Yes," Cersei said, and for a moment something raw flickered across her face. "Do you think I didn't see it? Do you think I didn't feel it in my bones, Jaime? That creature, it wasn't life. It wasn't death. It was wrong. Me, ending child." Jaime stared at her, surprised by the emotion he heard. Cersei stepped closer, holding the vial up between them. "It fears fire," she said, voice low. "Then we give it fire." Jaime swallowed, his anger faltering. "And what about the people?" he asked. "What about the city?" Cersei's gaze hardened again. "If the dead reach this city," she said softly, "the people will die anyway." Jaime's jaw clenched. "So you'll burn them to save yourself?" Cersei's eyes flashed. "I will burn them to save what remains," she snapped. "And I will not apologize for surviving." Jaime looked at the vial, the green flame trembling inside glass like a trapped demon. He remembered the screams at Blackwater. He remembered the men on fire, running, flailing, disappearing into green light. He looked back at Cersei. "I can't follow you into this," he whispered. Cersei's face went still. "You already have," she said. Jaime's throat worked. He did not reply. He turned and left, the door shutting behind him with a sound that was not quite a slam, not quite a farewell. Cersei watched him go, her fingers tightening on the vial. Then she turned back to the flame, and her expression hardened into something that did not need love to breathe. After Jaime left, Cersei did not chase him. She did not call after him. She did not weep. She did not throw anything, though the urge came hot and sharp like bile. She stood very still until her anger cooled into something she could use. Qyburn arrived quietly, as if summoned by the shift in air. He held a parchment. "Your Grace," he said. Cersei did not look up. Her gaze was on the small pots lined on the table. They looked harmless, like jars of jam. Each one contained a death no blade could match. "What is that?" she asked. "A list," Qyburn replied. "Men who can ride north without drawing attention. Men who can watch." Cersei took the parchment and scanned it. Names, places, skills. Some were sellswords. Some were hunters. Some were criminals offered a choice between prison and service. "These will do," she said. Qyburn hesitated. "There is another matter," he said. Cersei's eyes lifted. "If you hesitate, speak less," she warned. Qyburn's expression remained mild, but his voice was careful. "The Dragon Queen will expect a response," he said. If you do not commit your army, she may move against you sooner. Cersei's mouth curved faintly. Let her, she said. Qyburn watched her. You intend to let the others fight first, he said. Cersei did not deny it. They want my men, she said. They want my resources. They want my obedience. She picked up one pot and weighed it in her hand. It was heavier than it looked, like a secret. I will give them something else, she said softly. Qyburn's brows lifted slightly. Fire, he murmured. Cersei set the pot down carefully. When the dead come south, she said, they will be tired. They will be stretched. They will have fought in snow and ice. They will be hungry. Oh. Her eyes were bright, sharp. And then, she said, I will feed them green flame. Qyburn inclined his head. It is a strategy, he said. Cersei's smile was cold. It is survival, she corrected. Outside, the wind howled against the castle walls, and somewhere in the city below, a bell rang, distant, lonely. Cersei looked toward the sound as if it belonged to her. Send the scouts, she said. Qyburn bowed. He replied. As he turned to leave, Cersei called after him, voice low. And Qyburn, she said. He paused. Yes, your grace. Cersei's eyes were hard as iron. No one speaks of this, she said. Not a whisper, not a rumor. If Daenerys learns what I have, she will try to take it. Qyburn nodded. Understood, he murmured. Cersei's fingers traced the edge of a pot, slow and deliberate. If anyone talks, she said softly, burn them. Qyburn did not flinch. As you command, he said. He left. Cersei remained, alone with green fire and winter wind. Her face lit in a color that made her look like a queen from a darker story. By morning, the snow had covered the city like a shroud. From the Iron Throne, Cersei watched the court gather again. Lords in heavy cloaks, merchants with anxious eyes, guards stamping their boots to keep warmth. The air in the hall was colder than usual, not from weather but from the sense that something had shifted. Cersei sat very still. The jagged iron pressed into her back. Pain reminded her she was alive. A messenger approached, kneeling, breath steaming. Your Grace, he said, voice shaking slightly. A raven from the north. Cersei's eyes narrowed. From whom? She asked. The messenger hesitated. From Winterfell, he said. Winterfell. The name sounded like an omen. A place of wolves and stubborn men. A place that would soon be a grave, if it wasn't already. Cersei gestured, and the parchment was brought forward. She broke the seal and read. The words were blunt. Northern words. The wall fallen. The dead moving. The living gathering. A plea, wrapped in pride, pretending not to be a plea. Cersei read it twice, then folded the parchment slowly. The hall waited, silent. What does it say? A lord dared ask. Cersei lifted her gaze, and the room went still under it. It says the north is cold, she replied. It says the north is afraid. A murmur rippled. Cersei leaned forward, her voice carrying. Let them be afraid, she said. Fear makes men move. Fear makes men obey. Fear makes men build walls and sharpen swords and pray. She let that sink in and added softly, fear makes men burn. The words hung in the air like smoke. Cersei rose, the iron scraping behind her, and stepped down from the dais. Her cloak swept the steps like a shadow. I am not afraid, she said. No one spoke. Cersei walked past her courtiers, past her guards, out of the throne room and into the corridor beyond. The sound of the door closing behind her echoed like a seal on wax. Outside, the castle halls were quiet. Servants moved like ghosts. Somewhere in the distance, a child coughed. Cersei walked alone, her steps measured. She did not know how long the world had left. She did not know how many would die before the dead reached her. But she knew this. When they came, they would not find her kneeling. They would find her waiting with green fire in her hands, and the cold certainty that if the world had decided to end, she would decide how brightly it burned.